I had one of my toughest months of trading, but still managed to make over $7,800 with just 2 losing days. And I want to show you how I was able to survive some of the choppy markets, some of the volatile markets, and how I was able to pick my direction so consistently when it seemed like many of the traders out there were getting chopped up by the volatility, over trading, over risking, getting blown out, and losing accounts. So let's get into it here on the Trade Zealous side of things. As I mentioned, only 2 days of red, which I love. This is the first one of the year, if you remember that. The 27-day streak was snapped. And I guess since then we're back on a 12-day streak. But we don't need to focus on that. $7,800, the 2 red days, the most important factor, very small. $400 and $175. We could easily recover that. I had a nice 2 weeks to the end of the whole month, making 6K in the last 2 weeks, so that's beautiful. But I think just the most important things as we get through these markups here, we'll go one by one. We're not going to go over all these markups. This is probably one you haven't seen. This was on Friday, the last day of the month. But just still follow my plan. We took it on AceFX TV. Higher highs and higher lows here through the open. Our bounce off New York VWAP. I waited for the break of high day, so I got a little bit higher of a price. But it's not the end of the world in this case. Stop loss below previous structure. Let's clear some of these drawings. Stop loss not right here at current. Just a little bit below pre-structure, so we could hopefully survive this New York VWAP if it wants to keep on holding it, which it does, still making higher highs and higher lows. Now, this is the first break outside opening range high. If you've seen any of these markups, I don't want to chase that move higher, so I kind of expected this pullback to want to come in because we don't normally break it and rip. But then I got a pretty good exit on this one. It moves a little bit higher, but just following my plan. A little more than 1R, following the structure, bounce off New York VWAP, break of high day VWAP. Let's go continue to trend higher. So that's the one markup you haven't seen. We're not going to go over the whole entire months because I've broken this into individual days on this same YouTube channel. So if you want to see specific days, go back and find it on there. I have every single day done. But we'll look at some of the key markups with the biggest lessons within them. This was the first one of the month. I just had a coaching call this past Friday. Same idea of how someone was maybe chasing shorts down here as we're slicing below the New York VWAP pretty heavily and pretty strongly. Oh my God, sellers are back in control. But again, not even just this 1 minute, but the 15-minute all month long has been helping me pick my spots, read the trend, know when to get in, when to stay out, and how to just stay one-sided on the market. So I've seen this plenty of times where I know I don't want to sell it because we have the age-old initial balance stat where we broke the upside, so we probably don't want to double break that. We could check that out real quick here on Edgeful. This initial balance, you can see the single break stat 75% of the time. The double break, 18% of the time do we break both sides, double break. So when we go back to this one, being that we took out the top red line, it's now an 18% chance we would go make a new low a day. So that keeps me one-sided as well as this is a 1 minute or this is a 2 minute. We're playing around the prices of a VWAP. If you could guess, this pullback on the 15-minute brought us right to the daily VWAP, which was the huge, huge factor as we go through many more of these markups. That was probably the biggest factor of the month of me surviving and making green days day over day. Because the daily VWAP was like my last line in the sand. If we're going to hold trend, it's going to be around here. So rather than looking for shorts, I'm sticking to the long bias, and I get this nice higher low into this entry. Boom, we go continue trend. So that was a nice trade there that you've probably seen, but I think just sticking with that one side of the market. If you guys remember, after I took that losing trade to snap my win streak, I was battling in the beginning of the month. I made videos on it. I was battling. I was going like 4 trades a day, 5 trades a day because I would lose, make it back, lose some more, make that back. I was breaking even. I mean, you'll see it here on the month one more time. We could check real quick. The $18 day, the 240, 5 trades, 3 trades. So definitely a little bit too much, right? On this one, I longed it up here, got stopped out, had to get back in to make it back. And the same thing in the afternoon. So that was just the one concern in the beginning of the month because then it happened again the next day. I'm shorting it into yesterday's New York VWAP. What are we doing? You can see on the left side here, the 15-minute. Clearly bullish. Clearly above the daily VWAP and right on yesterday's New York VWAP. So that's a terrible short when you look at it that way, which is why I know that is a bad short, but why did I take it? Early in the month after I had snapped that streak, I was just being more flexible with my rules, a little too flexible. So thankfully, clearly by the end of the month, I was able to right the ship and stay back disciplined and follow my rules the rest of the month because it was looking shaky there for about a week, but we got the train back on the track. So again, though, the 15-minute chart, keeping that lesson of rather than chasing this short, if you could keep this long bias because of where we're heading on these VWAPs here, you could look for longs up here in the 1 minute, which is what people did on our AceFX TV streams, but I was in the short, so I didn't capitalize on the long there. Over here, beautiful, simple bounce play Right out of Futures 2.0, we had people take the bounce play over here. I took it over here later on the day because it's just trend continuation. Clean bounce off New York VWAP, clean bounce off open range high. We had plenty of people in our Black Club also take the VWAP break, and that one also wins. So nice exits on that one. If you go over here to ASFX TV, we live stream all these trades every day at the open. But if you go to Futures 2.0, that's the strategy that I'm talking about of the VWAP bounce and the VWAP break. So that market we just went over is chapter 10 here, and it's mentioned in almost all the chapters, but the VWAP bounce specifically, and if you take the break, it's the break of a high day VWAP. So let's go back to this markup here. It's textbook, clean structure, clean trend. You could have taken it twice on the day, maybe capitalize and maximize your gains. Another one here, reading the 15-minute. This was a 15-minute play because look at the last line of defense, the line in the sand, this daily VWAP, the black line. Clearly I'm bullish. We made a new high a day above yesterday's high. It's been higher highs and higher lows. I know I want to buy it, but I don't want to buy it too high up here because that's a clear rip higher. It's a little overextended, right? Because the open was down here. So definitely money to be made in that move. All right, maybe we missed it. What can I do now? I don't want to jump in up here. Let it pull back. You can see I tried the longs a few times, trying to work my way in, thinking that this would be the deepest pullback that we got. But it wanted to come all the way back down to the daily. Fair play, as it normally does. And I'm able to catch it before it then leaves to continue the trend higher for a new high a day. So really clean trend on the 15-minute. Great pricing around that daily VWAP, just like we've seen in some of the other markups. So I think, again, with some of the choppiness and some of the volatility at the opens, I've been able to use this 15-minute to really find my best price on pullback plays, kind of similar to that, right? Where I think we could all agree we know we want to buy it on this day, but I was able to scope it on the 15-minute of I want to buy it here. And if it goes any lower, I don't want to be a buyer anymore. And that's the type of trades I love best because I know I'm either right or I'm wrong. I doubt I'm early. This is another clean trend. New high a day, pull back to New York. We could skip that one. You guys have definitely seen that one, I assume. But here's another markup on the 15-minute side of things. Able to find longs despite the overnight being bearish up here above my head because zoomed out, maybe it zoomed out a little bit too much. I don't often look at last week. But even if you just started from, let's go from here, from that red line. From yesterday, seeing that we still haven't taken out yesterday's low, I'm still seeing higher lows, big picture. This is what it creates. The next higher low and the next higher high. So sticking with that long bias until we get plenty new information telling me, hey, you shouldn't be long biased. We're falling lower highs and lower lows. Then I'm still going to want longs and look for longs because, again, the same example. Look at what we've been doing. Buyers have been able to step in almost every time now. So I think the 15-minute was a huge factor. And just to remind you guys, all the trades I took this month to make this 7,800 are all with Tradeify on 2 of the accounts. The straight to sim funded specifically, where actually right now, if you use code Dyer, I'll save you almost over $200, 30% off the 50Ks, 150Ks, straight to sim funded. Those are the accounts I'm on. I'm actually 35% off on the 50K accounts if you use my code Dyer, and 30% off every other account that they offer. So massive sale. Definitely look to use that if you're buying any accounts. Don't use full price. Don't do that when I could save you over $200. But yeah, just to go back to this real quick, I think the month as a whole was obviously great. A strong finish because, I mean, the first week I made $175 because I was battling. And the next week, 1.6, but then something turned up in the last 2 weeks to make 6K. So I want to take us over to the trading view chart here. This is the start of the month, February 2nd. It's the same idea. This is on a 15-minute chart. There's plenty of these moves down overnight or New York, I don't care, that are just creating these higher lows, and then the higher highs come back in. Now, when we get back towards the back half of the month, you can see how we finished down here. Now we're getting some continuation of lower highs and lower lows actually sustaining for more than 4 hours or 5 hours, right? So big picture, day over day, yes, we're still falling. We are still falling. So I'm more likely to short it there or short it down here or short it on the way down there because it's continuing lower from yesterday, from the day prior, and we're underneath the daily VWAP, we're underneath the yesterday's New York VWAP, right? So yes, there was maybe money to be made earlier in the month to the downside. Maybe we could say here, if you're trading London session, I don't care what session it is, but let's just pretend that's New York. You could squeeze money out of that, but I'd much rather find the continuation of the bullish momentum that's been happening. Now, on the flip side, I'd much rather short it back into the new lower low. That's what the trend's been doing. Obviously, I want it to come back higher so we could find more longs, big picture down the road, but just overall. Now, in the last 2 months, or 2 weeks, excuse me, it was easier to find shorts because it was telling you, hey, we're moving lower. We're taking out a previous day's low. We're closing lower. Taking out a previous day's low. We're closing lower. So reading and reacting to that, I'm easily able to believe that the shorts want to come in. You even just look at it on this day. Let's go on what the daily view up did look like on that day. This was purple. We'll make it black, whatever. The great short opportunities, all these pins come off the daily view up retest, even here later on in the afternoon. So just seeing that line in the sand, 1 minute or not, I can know I really want to catch a great price here if we're going to fall back into the direction of trend. And normally I think we're going to fall back into the direction of trend, whether it's short or long. So I think if you're not reading the 15-minute, still trade on the 1 minute. I'm still executing mostly on the 1 minute, but peeking at the 15-minute throughout the day is definitely super helpful, and definitely part of the reason I was able to make 7.8K this month, despite the volatility and despite even plenty of shorts. These last 2 weeks, I was shorting it. When I do really good longing it, because I just see the long super easily because I'm bullish, I was still able to maximize gains and make money to the downside. So if you couldn't have made money to the downside, ask yourself why. Were you frozen? Did you not have enough information? Did you not believe the shorts? The 15-minute probably could have helped you. So definitely check it on out. Let's have a great March. Let's have a great just rest of the month and great rest of the year, because I think constantly evolving, right? I used the 15-minute heavily in December and January. It was always been part of my plan. But when all else was choppy, the 1 minute wasn't really screaming a certain direction, I was able to lean back on that 15-minute more heavily than usual. And then maybe next week, a little less than usual, right? It's going to ebb and flow, but knowing what you do best, knowing what helps you, not taking in too much information to confuse you and freeze you up, but knowing what helps you and when to use it. So hope you guys found value in this video. Hope you guys had a great month. Again, use code Dyer with Tradeify. I'll save you 30% off all accounts. And then other than that, trade safe. Let's have a great month, and I'll see you guys on the charts tomorrow morning.